Alright guys, 4-wheeler doctor again. Got a little 420 Rancher here we're going to work on tonight. This is kind of some custom stuff that most people aren't going to deal with, but some people may. What we got here, this is truly a Frankenstein bike. This is a 2007 TRX. Let me see if I can get that to focus in. 420 TE, which means a 2-wheel drive electric shift. As you can see, it's not electric shift, and it's not a 2-wheel drive. So this is a foot shift, 4-wheel drive, independent rear suspension. And this guy bought this kind of halfway put together. Actually bought the rear end and just put it onto a frame. But what I got to do is the drive shaft is not, you can see here, is not right. If you order a drive shaft for the 420 AT, which this rear end came off of, it's too long. And naturally the drive shaft for the regular 420 is also way too long. So what we're going to do here is cut the drive shaft and put one in here. Well, when I got the thing, it was in these top bolt holes, and they actually had a bolt hole here holding the top of this subframe, I guess you could call it, the rear subframe. They had cut some notches out here to let the frame fit in there. But with it like that, it moved the differential up about another inch. And I don't know if you can see it or not, it's already higher than the output shaft right now. So if you move it up another inch, it makes it even more out of line. And it was going to put that universal at a pretty bad angle. I didn't really like that, so I dropped it down to the bottom bolt, and I'm making me some brackets that I'm going to weld in here and drill another hole in them to bolt this top part in, and then it has that drive shaft more in a line to line up. So that's what I'm working on now. I had the drive shaft here, and we'll have to do some preliminary cutting. That's just my rough markings of what I got to cut out. And then I got some tubing here to weld back over top of the drive shaft, some real thick wall stuff. And here's the joint. And the pieces of metal I cut out, not real sure where they are right now. Here they are. Some 1/4 inch thick steel, and I've got it where it will fit right up in here like that. Now the plan is to weld along the frame here, weld along the frame on the back, and it's going to space this over a little bit. I was actually thinking about welding another piece of thinner steel to the back side of this. It's more or less a spacer, and drilling a hole through both of them. So that's what my plan is. I've got one of these cut out. I'm gonna cut the other one out, and then I'll work on cutting out a thin piece to go in here as a spacer. So I may cut the camera back on when I get a few pieces cut out. Alright guys, so this is what I came up with. This little piece of metal here. I should be able to weld it across this tube in here, across the top, and across this little back side right here. I went ahead and drilled a hole in it. The one on the other side is identical. I get this bolt out, and since if you weld it onto here, then you're going to have this gap between it and the mating surface of this. So I took and welded another piece of metal into here. See the extra thickness? This is just a 1/4 inch thick piece and like an 1/8 inch thick piece. And so it acts as kind of a spacer. So you can put it up there like that. And I'm gonna knock the paint off of there and weld the thing up. and I believe that'll hold. It's actually a whole lot thicker than the original mount. We'll just do away with this bolt hole, and this should get our drive shaft at a lot better angle, so we should be able to get the drive shaft cut and built. So I'm gonna get this ground down and weld it up, and then we'll start on the drive shaft. Alright folks, got the brackets welded in there. Actually went pretty good. Both sides turned out real good. I'm gonna drop this rear end down a little bit and shoot some paint on the thing so it doesn't rust, especially when I get paint on the inside there. Clean it up a little bit too, and then I'm gonna stick the bolt in it, and the subframe connection will be done, so then we can start on the drive shaft. Alright guys, I got these drive shafts cut off. I cut them just a hair bit short. You end up having to cut these with a abrasive disc too. You can't cut them with a portaband or anything like that, because these are hardened. So it needs to be about a 1/4 inch longer than what I have here. So I just got this nut in here as a mock-up, and if I can get this top part to balance on here, I'll show you what the overall length needs to be. That's close enough. So overall length from the bottom of the table to the top of the shaft needs to be right at 5 inches. So what my plan is to do is to use some of this tubing, slide that over there like that, and take and weld up each end of it. So I'll need to cut this. So I need to do my balancing trick one more time. I need to cut this short enough to fit between here and this lip here, and have a little couple inch piece. I guess I can measure that and see too. It's going to be about an inch and a 1/4. So it's not going to leave much on there to tie these together with, but what I'm going to do is cut this off 1.25 inches and then drill some holes through it so I can weld through the holes, and then weld up each end of it too, just to make sure it's good and strong, and that should do it. Alright, I'll probably get you a video of the final product once it's done. Alright guys, back again on this 420 Rancher. Done a little bit more work since the last time I had the camera on. This is what we're going to end up with. Cut this the shaft down. This is my collar. Drilled some holes in it so I could do some plug welds to help hold it together a little bit better. You actually can see in there the crack between the two shafts where they meet up. My plan is to weld each of these holes and weld around the top here. I'm going to tack it here at my shop, and then my big welder's down at my farm, so I got to go down there and weld it. So that's where we're at now. I'm going to try to tack it here and get it trued up, and then we'll take it to my farm and weld it with the big welder.
Hello.
And Riker wants to say a little something. You want to say something, Riker?
Hello.
Riker says hello. He's working on a box out there. Recording?
Yeah.
Alright guys, so I got this shaft tacked in here. It just takes some trial and error to get it right. This is kind of a redneck way of seeing how true it is. But what I do is, there's a little nipple in the end of this and an indention in the backside. Put it on a drill and let the thing spin. And it's got very little, don't pay any mind to the shaft here that's not cut square, but it's got very little.
Then he just pushed it over.
Yeah, I pushed it over. So then it's got very little wobble. Really want to look at the end of the screwdriver up here. It's got very little wobble. This thing's not going to run 100 miles an hour, so it don't have to be perfect. So what I'm going to do now is go down to my farm and weld all this up with my big welder, And let me get my video where he's not on it real good. Weld all this up with my big welder, and it'll be ready to go back on the bike. Alright.
We'll be back.
Alright guys, back on this little drive shaft for the 420. Finally got over here and finally got down to my big welder and got it welded up. Had to grind down where some of the plug welds were because they had a little nipple on them. But I welded each end and welded actually 8 plug welds into this thing. So it should be very strong. I'm going to put the boot back on. I'm actually going to shoot it with a shot of paint. Put the O-ring back on here and the boot back on the other side. And put it on here and see if it's going to work. Alright guys, I got the plastics back on this 420. Just did a little torture test on the drive shaft and didn't have any issues. I hope you can see it down there. That's the final product. See, it's just a little short shaft in there. The sleeve that I put on, welded each end, plug welded it about 8 different places on the shaft, and it fits in there good. It has just a small amount of wobble in it, but nothing that's going to affect anything. Like I said, these things don't like a car. They don't run 100 miles an hour, so it lines up. Also, this kind of hard to tell right now. This thing does have a Gorilla plate on it. I think that's just a 2-inch plate for the lift, and I moved those mounting locations. They were here, which I think is the factory location for a straight axle bike. Moved it down here and I made those other plates for the top, which I had that earlier in the video, and it really doesn't sit bad. I guess that is a 2-inch lift on the back. It doesn't have a lift on the front, so when you get the plastics on there, you might be able to tell how it's raked up a little in the back, but I'm sure this guy's probably going to put a lift on the back of it too. I mean on the front of it too, once he gets it all the plastics and all that back together. So alright, just wanted to give you the finished product. Hope you enjoy my video. Hit the like button, subscribe. You can ask me any questions if you need to. Y'all take care.